Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to Spontaneous Remarks, the podcast where you never know what's going to be said or done. You never know what's going to happen. You just got to know what we're talking about today. Today, let's go to the wheel of Nerdville. Give it a little spin. Come on, get it a spin. Let's see what it's going to be talking about today. Oh, so close, but so far away from one of my favorite subjects. But today, we're going to talk about a 1980s movie. This movie came out when I was a kid, and I believe it was the one that was very popular when I was either in 1980 or 1981. I can't remember. The Extra Terrestrial E.T. Woo! All right, guys. Well, welcome back to another episode of Spontaneous Remarks. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, or this morning, or whatever time you listen to it. I do apologize for the last couple of weeks. We've had a couple of busy weekends, and we just could not find the time to sit down and do our show. Well, one weekend was our anniversary, my wife and my anniversary of 23 years, so we went out on a date night. We went to watch the movie The Fall Guy, which was off of that old TV show, The Fall Guy. And unfortunately, the next weekend, we had not only a funeral, but then my nephew's wedding, which was a huge busy day of running back and forth and all kinds of stuff. Unfortunately, there was a funeral that day, but with his wonderful wedding within 1 hour apart, so it was pretty stressful, but these past few weekends have been pretty packed. So anyway, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today. We're going to talk about the movie E.T. And now E.T. Came out, I want to say in 1980. But I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look it up. Give me one sec. Okay, so E.T., the Extra Terrestrial, is a 1982. I was 2 years old. A 1982 American sci-fi film, and it was directed by, you guessed it, the old Steven Spielberg. Tells of the heartwarming story of a young boy named Elliot, who befriends the extraterrestrial E.T., who is stranded on Earth, and the film explores the themes of friendship, loyalty, and the innocence of childhood. Now, when I was growing up, there's a lot of things in this movie that I did not understand when they happened in the movie, but as I got older, and I watched it not too long ago with my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, and some of the things that happened made total sense in today's time. But anyway, so Steven Spielberg was the director. The story was written by Melissa Matheson, and it cast as Henry Thomas as Elliot, Dee Wallace as Mary, the mother, Robert McNaughton as Michael, the big brother, Drew Barrymore as Gertie, she was the little girl, baby sister, and Peter Coyote, which was known as Keys. He was the guy that was walking through with his keys jingling. The release date was June 11th, 1982, and the runtime was 115 minutes, almost 2 hours. So, it's a pretty simple plot. The spaceship showed up on Earth. The extraterrestrials got out and was looking around. And each one was, I guess, looking for different plant life. Is what it looked like was they were kind of exploring the forest and getting samples, root samples, plant samples, things like that. And then the government agents appear, which made the spaceship leave, stranding one of the members behind, which was later named E.T. by Elliot. And after the initial fright, the first time Elliot meets E.T., they form a deep bond, and E.T. reveals all his abilities, including telekinesis, healing powers, and other interesting things. And Elliot and his siblings, Michael and Gertie, help E.T. evade the government capture, and while they tried to also find a way to send him home. And there's just so many things in the movie that was just a great... hey, growing up watching this movie, man, it brings tears to your eyes just thinking about just all those heartwarming parts in it where you think this is happening and this didn't happen. And I don't want to go into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but the impact and legacy of E.T. the Extraterrestrial was a massive box office success. Became the highest grossing film of its time. It received critical acclaim for its story, the special effects, and the performance, especially by Henry Thomas and Drew Barrymore. Now, these two kids, man, if you look up on YouTube, Henry Thomas's audition for E.T., bro, it's just, he totally nails it and wins the, I don't even know what you call them, the people that's doing the audition, totally wins them over immediately. The film won several awards, including 4 Academy Awards: Best Original Score, Best Sound Effects Editing, Best Visual Effects, and 2 Golden Globe Awards for Best Motion Picture and Drama and Best Original Score. Now, the cultural significance of this film, I mean, it was widely regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. So if you hadn't seen it, you need to stop what you're doing. Well, wait until you get done with me. Finish listening to the podcast, then you can go watch it. Its success helped cement Steve Spielberg's reputation as a leading director, and he is just a fabulous director. The character of E.T. has become an iconic figure of popular culture, and the film's themes of empathy and understanding continue to resonate with audiences of all ages. Now, E.T. remains a beloved classic, and it's celebrated for its emotional depth, innovative special effects, and just it's got a timeless appeal. Like I said, I watched it with my 13-year-old daughter. It's been a little while, but it's pretty recent. And I knew what was going to happen throughout the movie, so certain parts I would look over at her, and the ending, man, it just brings you tear to your eye, and just me and her were both bawling because it was such a. It was a good bonding moment for, mother and daughter, father and son, whatever you want to call it. It's just a cool movie. It's a good movie. Now, the part of the movie that I thought was kind of funny was when E.T., this is the part I didn't understand growing up, but he had gotten into the refrigerator and started drinking beer, in which Elliot was the one that had gotten drunk off of it. So, growing up, I didn't understand what was going on, why he was acting the way he was. But not only did E.T. have telekinesis, but he had some kind of telepathic power to where he was connected to Elliot in that way. So whatever happened to E.T. would also happen to Elliot. So he had drank the beer, got drunk. It also caused Elliot to get drunk, which caused him to kiss one of the little girls at school and set all the frogs free because they were about to dissect them. It was just a pretty cool scene. Now, there's a lot of fun trivia about this movie. So, one of the most famous lines in the movie is where E.T. says, "E.T. phone home." And it was not in the original script. It was actually improvised by Melissa Matheson, the screenwriter, during production. And I want to say that in the movie it was actually said backwards, or maybe everyone... I think he said something about, I think it says E.T. home phone or something like that. If I remember, there was something about that was said. Maybe it was one of those Mandela effects that you think. Henry Thomas was cast as Elliot, and this is kind of what I mentioned earlier. His audition brought genuine emotion to the scene by recalling, he did this by recalling the death of his dog. So Spielberg was so moved that he immediately gave him the role. E.T.'s voice was created by sound designer Ben Burt, who used recordings of 16 different people and animals. The primary voice was provided by Pat Walsh, an elderly woman who smoked two packs of cigarettes a day, giving E.T.'s voice a distinctive rasp. So that was interesting. I never knew that. Drew Barrymore, she was very imaginative. So during filming, Spielberg encouraged Drew Barrymore to believe that E.T. was real, and maintained the illusion throughout the shoot to capture genuine reactions. Just like any child would think that something like that's real. E.T.'s face design was modeled after Carl Sandburg, Albert Einstein, and a pug dog. Special effects artist Carlo Rambaldi created E.T.'s animatronics, which were highly advanced for the time. And also, there was real life inspiration. I mean, Spielberg himself was inspired by an imaginary friend he created after his parents' divorce. This later evolved into the story of E.T. Reese's Pieces. Now, this is interesting about it. So, the Reese's Pieces was introduced in this movie. The candy that Elliot used to lure E.T. was originally supposed to be M&M's, but Mars Inc. declined the product placement, but Hershey's agreed to feature Reese's Pieces, which saw a significant boost in sales after the film's release. Obviously, Mars, you done dropped the ball. You could have gotten a huge increase in your sales had you accepted that product placement. Loser. Anyway, there was even a Star Wars connection. Now, I love this about this movie. So, the film contains several nods to Star Wars characters. There's a scene where Elliot introduces his toys to E.T. He shows Hammerhead, Boba Fett, Lando Calrissian, I think. He's showing these, even Greedo. He shows his little toys to E.T. And then later on at Halloween, they're going through town, and E.T. is dressed as a ghost, supposed to be Gertie. No one knows, but anyway. And there's another child dressed as Yoda. And immediately, when E.T. sees this character, he shows an immediate recognition of it and tries to go after this child dressed as Yoda. Now, if you go to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and there's a Senate hearing scene, and in one of the scenes you can see E.T. characters in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen at a certain shot, and there's 3 E.T. It is the E.T. characters. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So that's very interesting that they linked those two together. The original ending was different. This included Elliot playing Dungeons and Dragons with his friends, and it reflected the beginning of the film, but it was changed to a more poignant farewell scene. And then there was also a sequel ideal. Spielberg and Matheson briefly considered a sequel titled E.T. 2 Nocturnal Fears, which would have involved Elliot and his friends being kidnapped by evil aliens. However, Spielberg decided it would tarnish the original's legacy and scrap the idea. Now, what they could have done is done E.T. 2 a reunion to where E.T. comes back when Elliot is, a young adult, 16, 17 years old, where E.T. had also gained, a few years, and that would have been cool, because, kids, they change how they act after years. They don't act like they do when it comes to, Elliot was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. So, growing up always changes those perspectives. Now, government interference. Now, this is something that, I understand you have to have government helping in various forms, but sometimes I just wish the government would just stay out of our business, dadgummit. But anyway, Spielberg initially wanted the government agency to carry guns, but after the 9/11 attacks, he decided to replace them with walkie-talkies in the 2002 re-release, reflecting a less aggressive approach. Well, okay. But anyway, if you watch the original, there's one scene where the boys are trying to get away on their bicycles, and all the officers have shotguns, and on the re-release, they're holding walkie-talkies. What a bunch of wimps. But anyway, The legacy in the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress in 1994. Deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. So E.T. the Extraterrestrial does remain a timeless classic. So go watch the movie. E.T. phone home. Anyway. Okay, well, that is quite a bit of information about E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Among other things we haven't really talked about yet, but there was also the music and soundtrack. Now, John Williams wrote the iconic score. It was composed by him. It's one of the most celebrated film scores in history. The music enhances the emotional depth of the film and the flying theme becoming particularly famous. So that's the one that goes da na 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 na. Anyway, look it up. It's a lot better than I just portrayed it. But he conducted that score with the London Symphony Orchestra, and the music was integral to the film's success, and it earned Williams an Academy Award for Best Original Score. I mentioned that earlier, I believe. And also the box office success of E.T. I think I did mention earlier it was a massive financial success. It grossed over $792 million worldwide. It held the title of the highest grossing film of all time until Spielberg's own Jurassic Park surpassed it in 1993. So it held that title until for 11 years. The film received so much widespread acclaim from critics and audiences alike. It's a really good film. I mean, there's wonder and there's sadness and happiness and all kinds of little things when E.T. emerges from the closet and scares Gertie, and she screams, and then he screams, and then all heck breaks loose. Trying to think of some more of the funny scenes in it. Anytime E.T. was on the screen, it was very interesting. I'm gonna have to watch that with my 5-year-old now that I think about it. But you know what? This is such a good movie. I mean, you guys have to go watch it. I mean, E.T. I don't know if I think I talked about this during the episode of the video games or Atari or Nintendo or something. I don't remember, but there was the E.T. Atari game, which was probably one of the worst games ever made. Even though I did play it, I liked it. I beat it several times, but yes, it is very difficult. But they had a whole slew of them buried in a landfill somewhere, and someone ended up finding them. So, pretty interesting stuff. I know this has not been that long of an episode tonight, but I really appreciate you guys sticking with me and watching, and thank you so much for just listening. And I've seen some of the analytics on my RSS website, and I mean, it's pretty cool to see how many people are watching from all over the world. I've got several, or not watching, but listening. I've got several people listening from the European area, Moscow. I've seen some people from Brussels and London, and that's just cool. I think it's pretty neat. And then all in the United States. They're all over the United States. I don't have a ton of listeners, but I'm hoping to grow my channel, or my podcast rather, as much as I can. And I thought, this is kind of something I found out recently about myself. I have severe ADHD, so I get on some kind of tangent where I want to try something, just to try to make a mark in the world somehow. And I've tried YouTube. I never was really successful there. I've went on to be an artist. I've painted like Bob Ross. Pretty successful that way. I tried card magic. I've tried, being a clown before. That didn't go over well. I am a musician, and that always works well. But it's I'm in church and play worship music, so that's kind of the scope of that. Even though I've always wanted to be a performer of some kind, and just kind of give my thoughts or my being to an audience somewhere. So I do hope that you guys enjoy listening to me, and just as I talk about things that I grew up watching, or things that I'm very interested in. It kind of gives me an outlet to just be a nerd and to just talk about things and just share my heart with people. But anyway, I hope you guys have really enjoyed this. Thank you so much again for listening. And just keep in mind for next time, you never know what's going to happen, but maybe we'll catch that. I don't know. I don't even know what I want to say. I'm so stupid. But anyway, maybe we'll finally get to that subject that I've been wanting to talk about, and I was so close, and it picked E.T. instead. So we're not going to talk about it now, but we'll see what's going to happen on the next episode. So we'll catch you on the flip-flop. Woo!